Greetings, everybody, and welcome to our Lead to Transform webinar podcast series. This webinar series is all about equipping business leaders with practical insights and strategies to drive meaningful transformations within your organizations through process innovations, through technology adoption, and most important, through people and above all, our customers. Today's topic is one that really lies at the heart of creating exceptional customer experiences. Titled aptly, Walking in Your Customer's Shoes, Journey Mapping, Turning Moments into Customer Loyalty and Loyalty into Growth. In today's competitive marketplace, organizations that truly understand what their customers feel, what their customers need and expect at every interaction are the ones who build lasting relationships and sustainable growth. And one of the most powerful tools to help us achieve this is customer journey mapping. To guide us through this discussion, I am happy to introduce our expert business coach today, Steve Finkelstein, Senior Partner at Experience on Demand. Steve is a highly respected business transformation consultant who has spent decades helping businesses reimagine their strategies, processes, and customer experiences. He brings deep expertise in customer journey mapping and has worked with several organizations across industries to help them align their business operations with what really matters to their customers. I have personally had the privilege of working with Steve for the last 15 years and more, and I've seen him guide businesses towards success in all aspects of process excellence and continuous improvements. Thank you so much, Steve, for once again giving us the gift of your time. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks, Bala. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my experiences and continue to work with ICCG and help other companies improve their transformation. So let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a very interesting topic, customer journey mapping. Let's dive in. Obviously, Steve, it helps us to start off for those who possibly may be newer to this concept. Can you explain what exactly is a customer journey map? What does it capture? And how should businesses think about a customer journey map, Steve?
Well, first, let me start off with a few quotes. These quotes really hit the heart of customer service and should be remembered by every employee in the company. The first one deals with, consider your customers are a guest at a party in your house. How would you treat that guest? Every important aspect makes that decision working with your guest a better experience. So customers consider them as a guest in your house. The second thing is there really shouldn't be a customer service department. That customer service and customer relationships is everybody's job. And the third one, which is my favorite, is people will forget what you said. They will also forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's probably the one thing I want to make sure you come out of this is when you work with your customers throughout the journey, you want to make sure you focus on how they feel. So let's get into the definition. So a customer journey map is a visual representation, and we like to build it on a wall with index cards. You can then digitize it, but it should be a map across a 10 or 12-foot wall with index cards that represents every step of a customer journey. Every time you interact with the customer. And it could make no difference whether it's a university attracting students, a patient for a doctor, it could be a retail store like Home Depot, or it could be an online store like Amazon. Whatever your journey is, whatever your business is, we all have customers, and that's very important. And as you map the journey of the steps, you then want to identify where are the touch points. Every time you touch that customer, we'll go through examples of those. It could be emotional touch points, it could be pain points, it could be decisions that are made that they make with you, or it could be opportunities where you can improve the service. And then in general, once you get this done, the whole organization, all your people, all your teams are aligned around that customer experience. Everybody knows their role and how they play in the overall experience. So you're not making assumptions, you know the facts because you have that experience.
That's amazing. Steve, again, for me, the key takeaway from what you just shared is how customer experience is created by an all-pervasive participation from every team member in an organization.
That's
I
correct.
think that's very, very valuable. So, why is this so valuable? And what are some of the benefits, Steve, for organizations to go through and have their customer journey mapping done well?
So let me share with you some supporting research that's pretty compelling. 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for great experience. And I'm sure everyone can relate to that if you go to a restaurant. Loyal customers are 5 times more likely to repurchase. Customer retention is so critical to your bottom line. Customers tell an average of 9 people about a positive experience, but 16 people about a negative one. Think about that.
Absolutely.
73% of consumers say a good experience is key to consider and influence their brand loyalty. Companies with customer experience mindset, and this again hits the bottom line, drives 4 to 8% higher revenue than the average market. Wouldn't everyone like to have that? And customers who have the best experience in the past spend 140% more dollars compared to those with the poorest experiences. So if you look at those things, why wouldn't you want that to happen for your company?
Absolutely.
So everybody wins. Your customers are listened to, which is very critical. They feel understood. Overall, they have a better experience in products and services. It's a long-term relationship, which is what every one of us wants. And it empowers choices of how you work with your customers. So feel each one of us in our own way are customers. Even though your company has different customers, we are consumers of goods and services. And so as we go through this journey today, put yourself in the customer's shoes. Also, the leadership of your company will now have better alignment with their goals and objectives because all their initiatives will focus on the customer. They'll give you a competitive advantage. It'll help you make better decisions and have those lifelong relationships with your customers. And bottom line is it'll increase in your revenue and your ROI. And your employees will benefit, better engagement, better accountability and feeling belonging to understand how they create the overall success for your company. And it improves teamwork and collaboration because everybody knows what everyone's doing in the company and how they impact each other.
That is really very valuable and very much apt, Steve, what you just shared here. In fact, I can reflect upon this and just share 2 points, which I think just endorses everything that you just said. I remember right when I was in the initial phase of my career, I was working at the electronics giant, multinational Philips Electronics, and the chief executive officer asked a question in one of the town hall meetings to all of us: who do you think pays our salary? And obviously, he was highlighting it's our customers because of which we are in business. That true statement is completely what you just now exemplified even more by why this is so valuable for every business. One more perspective that I'm taking away, Steve, is example. We are a business and technology consulting firm. In our business, perception is reality because we offer services, and this applies to every services business, right? And you will typically observe that it is services oriented business that give a higher premium to customer value and a exceptional customer experience. So, towards that, everything that you just mentioned about what this means to an organization hits absolutely the right chord with every business, Steve. Let us now get down to what, therefore, are the key stages of a customer journey and how can organizations start identifying and understanding those stages.
Great question. Let me walk through the stages. A lot of times people think the first stage of a customer journey is when you buy a product or service, but that's only the middle. The first stage is awareness. So when your customer first learns about your product or service out of the internet, on your website, social media, what is the awareness of your company and what is your presence? Then there's consideration where they make decisions and they evaluate the alternatives with your competition. They search solutions, different options, and it could be phone calls, it could be meetings with your company where they finally get the information they need. So all the different ways. And then they acquire your products or services and they engage your company. But it doesn't stop there. Then it gets into the experiences they get when they receive your products and services. Are they on time? Are they friendly? Are they accurate? Are they quality? Doesn't stop there. Their journey continues to loyalty. Many companies stop at service. When was the last time you followed up with your customers, thanking them for their order, calling them up just to see how things are going to understand their needs, rather than only calling them for more business? So you want to develop that long-term relationship and develop loyalty, and then to become repeat customers, and they become raving fans in your advertising. Now,
Go ahead,
as you
Steve.
go through the journey, there are touch points. These are the experiences that are positive and negative through the journey. So let me take you through some examples. These are only a minute piece of the touch points. When we talk about awareness, it could be social media. What's your presence on social media? Is it positive or negative? Or what about your advertising and marketing? Are you hitting your target audience? How are you advertising? And then what about your website? The initial introduction to your website, your homepage, the cleanliness of your website, how easy it is to navigate. Do you have a video, something compelling on the first page? But as you go through the awareness, now they're considering you. They may have a phone call where they ask you questions, or they may ask for a proposal. What does it look like? Is it on time? Are there spelling errors? Is it easy to understand? Now that they've made a decision to go with you, evaluating you against your competition, There are touch points, your first appointment, the first doctor appointment, the first meeting with a consultant, the first meeting with an accountant. And then you receive your products. Are the products on time? All of these things need to get measured. Then you have the service aspect. You have interactions with your staff or with questions, or you may have a service call where you actually go out and help fix something. And then the loyalty side, you have post communications, you have loyalty programs, and then you have surveys where you follow up. Now notice in this journey, some of these touch points were negative and some were positive. And the goal is to move the negatives up to positive. And we'll talk about a way of rating those both quantitatively and qualitatively later. So I hope that gives you a feel of what the kinds of things are in your customer journey. A lot of times you can relate to a doctor's appointment. You know, how do you select a doctor? And you go through the whole thing. How long do you have to wait to talk to a doctor? How long do you have to wait to get an appointment? What's it like to park? What's it like in the waiting room, all the way through your appointment with the doctor? So just kind of put yourself in the customer's shoes, and these are the steps,
Yeah.
typical steps.
This is again so valuable, Steve. And as you are relating to it, you're spot on. In fact, what we have experienced also, I'm sure you will concur, is once you have the awareness and there is an interest sparked, how you respond, how consistently you are responding. And you alluded to, even in the proposals, the level of details, the level of completeness, the quality care, everything that is creating an impression in the customer's mind about how they will be served and carrying forward that journey was completely in alignment to what we have ourselves experienced in different customer journeys of ours. And also, you rightfully touched upon it is so important to stay connected with our customers because that is the biggest asset the company, the business can really have. The customer's loyalty, the customer's endorsements, references that they are being served well. That's very good. So,
Exactly right.
having walked through those stages, what the stages could be, Steve, it will be interesting for us to know how is it developed? How does one organization, when they decide to create a journey map, how do we actually do it? And what is the process and timeline that goes into creating this kind of a customer journey map, Steve?
Well, I'm glad to share that with you. So the process starts with defining the profile of the journey. So the profile could be an online store like Amazon. It could be a patient journey for a doctor or a hospital. It could be we did one for a car wash. You know, what's the journey of the car wash from the time you need a car washed to the whole journey till you end up leaving in post. It could also be recruiting for a school, alumni. You know, how do you recruit students? How do you gain the alumni down the road? So it could be the journey, not just through the recruiting process, but the journey as a student and post being a student. So you start with what is that profile you want to do? Then you identify the stages. Now we walk through the 5 stages. Some people add a 6th stage, which is onboarding. So when you acquire a customer, there's usually that onboarding period. Consider an employee that joins the company, there's a 90-day onboarding period. Or you have a new product for a company, there's typically a learning curve with training for that onboarding period. And then you map the touch points. So we went through the touch points, we didn't evaluate them yet, but just identified. And probably for every stage, there's 5 to 15 touch points. Once you get the touch points, you want to identify the level of excellence. So what does excellence look like? What does a customer, you think, and based on experience, expect? So high expectations. What's their emotional? What do they want to do? They want to make sure you listen. They want things on time, on budget, all those things with quality. So you define excellent for each. Then you do an internal assessment. So you and your organization Once you identify the touch points, how well do you map against excellence? Now, when we define excellence, it's not just with words, it's with key performance indicators and metrics. So in most cases, you have quantitative as well as some qualitative excellence. So you internally assess what you think that looks like. Through interviews and surveys and focus groups, you have that journey map on the wall, you have all the touch points, and anonymously you go through as a group and you start evaluating your internal assessment. And I'll show you a scorecard later. But you also need an external assessment. So you can meet with some of your key customers, you can do customer surveys on how well you're meeting their needs at the various stages. So now you have an internal and external assessment that you can compare and see what that gap looks like. And as you identify those gaps that are either people related, process related, technology related, facilities related, whatever that is, you identify how to close those gaps and prioritize those. Then you put together a series of initiatives in order with the cost benefit of why you should do those, and then you implement. So that's pretty straightforward steps. The key thing here is defining what is excellence.
Yeah.
And again, you can get input from your customers as well. And then you start doing the assessments. So your second question, Bala, was how long does it take?
Correct.
Well, just to develop a journey map, it's only a couple of weeks. So from awareness all the way through consideration, all the way through the relationships and follow on. But that's just the first piece. Then you have to identify the ratings by touch point. And then you want to do your internal review, your external review, identify the gaps and how do you close those gaps and prioritize those. And then you want an action plan to close the gaps. So to do this right, it's about 13 weeks. You can accelerate a little bit or draw it out depending on your resources, but I wouldn't want to go more than 15 or 16 weeks because you're building momentum and you're building the culture to focus on customer service, which is very important because it relates to everything else in the company.
And I'm sure there will be periodic review too, right, Steve? Once you have this
Right.
Mapped everything, 100%.
And then once this is done,
right.
It gets into that last phase, which is, ongoing relationships,
Correct.
ongoing service, building
Right.
that loyalty.
Right.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. This again outlines clearly what steps are involved in creating a customer journey map and also a rough estimation of a timeline that typically goes to create this kind of a very purposeful customer journey map creation for a business. How would you suggest organizations then should evaluate and continually improve their customer journey over time, Steve?
So we recommend both quantitative and qualitative metrics. So here's an example on a 5-point scale where 1 is very poor and 5 is excellent for the 5 stages of the journey. So if we did an internal assessment and each of these stages had 5 or 6 or 8 touch points, we'd measure those. And in this case, awareness, we did a good job with social media. We did a good job with the word on our website. So that got a good rating. Consideration, not so good, because the way we interact with customers, we had automated answering machines rather than personal calls, those type of things. We weren't prompt enough, on time, responding to meetings, etc. But once we acquired the customers, we did a good job on closing the business. Where the company fell short was service. So what they felt was, boy, we got the sale. Now let's focus on the next sale. And they didn't consider the service. So they were worried about on-time delivery, but the quality wasn't there. Too much support was needed. So they had a lower service rating. And then loyalty used to be higher, but it's going downhill. So now it's only a 3. So if you establish some weights and you multiply the weights times your score by the stages, overall, your journey map has a fair rating. So you can actually assign people goals. You can put it on leadership, performance metrics, compensation, bonuses, etc. so you can hold people accountable. But in addition to the quantitative measures, there's also qualitative. Qualitative could be doing a SWOT analysis with your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what are the strengths that support this awareness? We have strong brand recognition or user-friendly online purchases, those type of things. But our weaknesses are post-service support. That's why our service was only a 2. We had limited customer feedback. It's only a 3. Fair. Inconsistent messaging across our channels. Depending how you talk to, you get different answers. But the opportunities, again, loyalty programs, the self-service portal, and start using data and data integration to make better decisions. And then you see your threats. So if you put these 2 together, you got actions to address these and actions to address these.
That really brings us to the last element in this webinar podcast. Steve, hearing from you as a wrap up, what could be some of the key takeaways or closing advice for businesses as they may think about embarking on this journey mapping effort? Your closing remarks, Steve.
So let me share with you one of my favorite poems and stories. I'm not sure if you've ever heard about everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody, but this will get the message across.
Yeah.
This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, customer service, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everyone's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. So my closing message is, don't leave the customer experience, that customer journey, that strong customer relationship. Don't leave it to somebody, anybody, or nobody. It belongs to everybody. And everybody needs to be the host at a party for your customer. And that's my story. I'm the journeyman.
Amazing, Steve. Thank you so much. Sincerely appreciate your support. This has been another very insightful webinar, Steve, and the content shared from your side, obviously backed by your such rich and diverse experience and knowledge you bring to the table. So thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. You have given us a clear understanding of how journey mapping helps businesses see through their customers' eyes and how that perspective can turn everyday moments into loyalty and loyalty into growth. To our audience, thank you for listening in to this episode of Lead to Transform. I'm sure you would love to learn more about today's topic or get in touch with Steve Finkelstein and the team at Experience on Demand. Please do visit our website, www.iccg.com, as Experience on Demand is one of our strategic partners, and we will be happy to connect you with Steve and team and get you more information and get you on path to creating and enhancing the customer journey map. We invite all of you to stay connected with us for our future episodes in the series where we continue to explore topics at the intersection of business transformation and customer success here at ICCG. Once again, thank you for being with us, Steve, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bala. I appreciate it. Take care.